Hey everybody, welcome to Going Analog, a podcast in which gamers come and talk about board games. So I'm your host, Christina, and with me is Shu, my partner and board game confederate in all things. So we have one of our quick hits this week. We have, I don't know, it's just one of those things where you like accumulate so many things, you reach this threshold. We've been accumulating drafting games. So
this year, there's been a lot of drafting games. So, and some of them are doing things a little differently than we're used to. So we thought it'd be fun to talk about them today.
Yes. Who doesn't love a good draft? You know, some breeze. Okay. But before we get started, we wanted to highlight a game that we wanted to talk about. What game is that today, Shu?
Yeah, our game pick is Yomi 2. And by the time you listen to this, it should be coming out any day now.
Holding it upside down.
Yomi 2.
He's really good at this game. So
yeah. So I can't see on the screen which side's up. This is Yomi 2. This is sort of a starter box with two characters. The starter set, this is Bashing versus Finesse. What's funny is I'm about to show you the big box. Hold on to this. This thing is humongous. This is the big, awesome set. So this is the Road to Morningstar. This is the full set, and it has multiple character decks. It has the more deluxe components. It has a player mat. That's a starter set if you don't want to get the full thing and you just want to play with a couple characters. But those two characters are not in here. Funny thing. So if you wanted all the characters, you actually have to buy both boxes, but there's more enough content in this thing. So, and the reason why it's so big is because it shows you, we show you here, the playmat comes inside the box, but fully unrolled, right? There's two playmats. This is a head-to-head game. So the playmat just sits flat in here, which is really nice because a lot of times, like, we have games where they try to fit the playmat in it, but you have to roll it really tight. You have to have a little spot for it, and then you have to unroll it and kind of try to smooth it out.
Sort of like, rolled up and stuff.
So I haven't seen many games where the playmat just comes like this, where it's just flat. There's enough room for it, but it does make the box really big.
But what is this game about, Shu?
So Yomi 2 is a fighting game. If you've ever played games like Street Fighter, the video game, this is basically that in card form. But it's its own universe, the Fantasy Strike universe. So Serlin Games, which is the publisher here, they've made a Fantasy Strike game. They made a Puzzle Strike. They made previous Yomi. They're all the same characters from this universe, but they're in a fighting game tournament. And Yomi 2 is a sequel to Yomi 1, of course. But basically, you have a deck of cards. So my deck is my character. Your deck is your character. It's a head-to-head game. And then you're just trying to whittle the other character down, your opponent down to 0 health. Now, how this works is it's all card driven, right? And then it's very tactical and very strategic. So there are a lot of different fighting game card games, like the Exceed system, BattleCon system, but Yomi 2 kind of does its own thing. The creator, David Serlin, of Serlin Games, actually worked at Capcom, which is the publisher for Street Fighter, and he developed some of the Street Fighter games. So he kind of knows his stuff, and you can feel it. This is like a game where I actually didn't even really want to play.
He didn't want to play with me.
I was like, I think it's better for people to know fighting games. And Christina's like, I know fighting games.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, what does chip damage mean? And what did you say?
It's what I do to nachos.
So, but these concepts I played with my friend Nam, who does, we previously played the Street Fighter game and stuff. So he and I could talk this language to him, right? I was like, okay, for example, if I try to attack you and then, but you block, or you dodge the attack, then I'll miss. But if you try to dodge and miss, or try to dodge or block an attack, and I try to throw you, I will actually win. So there's this rock, paper, scissors relationship between the moves. But also, there's high block for high attacks, low block for low attacks, and things like that. And so it is very fighting game oriented, and a lot of it's like in a real video game fighting game. It's not just like throwing out attacks, spamming attacks, and trying to do as much damage as you can, because you have to be, okay, what is my opponent going to do in this situation? Is he going to jump in the air and do this? Or is he going to throw a fireball and I could counter with this? And that's what this game really represents.
And it's better for people who get older, because then you don't need the hand-eye coordination reflexes.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so this game captures a lot of it. It's like, okay, do I want to block now, or do I think you're going to try to throw me? So then I'll attack you instead. And all those kind of mind games kind of play into this. And a lot of this game, in terms of the board game terms, it's very deck in hand management, right? So there's a lot of times where like, I'm going to put these cards in my discard pile. Then I'm going to do something else to draw these cards out of my discard pile to play them at the right time. And you can string along combos because there's certain moves that are like, you'll see symbols on the cards that link, like this card will link to these types of cards, will link to these kind of cards. Your character determines the max size combo you can have. So you can't just go unlimited and play 20 cards and then finish off the opponent. So you have to go within your limit, but you can link these cards, and it's really satisfying when you get all done. You're like, okay, I'm going to link, I hit you, I landed a hit, therefore I can link this second hit of this combo, then this third hit, and then you can pump up this card for damage. There's just a lot of insane combos, but I do very much feel like this is a game for fighting game fans. Like, I would not break this out as a casual game, just to play with someone who's just like, oh, let's just play a quick 2-player game. Unless they knew fighting games, I don't know if I would break this out for them.
How is it different from Yomi 1?
So in Yomi 1, it's been a while since I played Yomi 1, like a long time. So in Yomi 1, they used a deck of cards sort of a format, right? So your deck is also like a playing card deck. So you have like a king, a queen, and then that will help kind of determine someone's priority. They removed all of that just to kind of make it like, okay, we're our own thing, right? Instead of following that format. So now initiative, they'll have initiative numbers based on how fast the attack is and things like that. So they did take a lot of that out. And from what I remember of Yomi 2, I felt like this was easier to grasp in terms of like, okay, these cards link here. These cards are these type of cards. It's just a little cleaner, I'd say, and also a little bit smoother. And then they did spend some time like just sort of polishing up the system and balancing everything and making it a little bit more intuitive. But yeah. But this is a pretty hardcore game, I think.
And who won? You or Nam?
Don't worry about that. But yeah, it's like people who just want to be very strategic, and then they get really rewarded. Like, oh, if I do this at this time, if I could make the opponent whiff, and I could just do all this stuff, it's like really rewarding. We could land all those combos and moves and get all the things right. It also has like the fighting game concept with super meters, right? You can build up your super meter and launch these super awesome attacks and things like that. Yeah, so that is Yomi 2 Road to Morningstar. Again, there's 2 different sets. And we should say, we forgot to mention this at the top of the show. I think all the games we're covering today were supplied by publishers, right? Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah, just so for full disclosure, so everyone knows these are publisher provided games.
So let's move on to the draft.
The drafting games.
So I get to go first because I decided that. And I would like to talk first about Citizens of the Spark, which was published by Thunderworks Games and designed by Philip Dubarry. Really, really cool art, first of all. I think we were wandering around Gen Con when our graphic designer friend, Matt Paquette, was saying, like, you never see this sort of inverted color scheme often in a lot of illustrations and stuff. So he's like, it's really striking. And the game is illustrated really beautifully. But this is a really cool drafting game that has a fun tweak to it. So when you are collecting citizens, you are trying to collect enough citizens to get the most points, which are spark in this game. And there's these little like spark tokens. So the fun part is you're building out tableaus and you have different sets of up to like around 10 different types of citizens in every game. And they combine in really, really fun different ways as you're playing. So you might have like a whole complete deck full of like scientists and scouts and assassins and all of these different types of characters. When I collect them, they actually stack on top in a tableau in my town, essentially, in my civilization. So when I'm drafting, I'm taking a whole row of 3 to 4 cards. I forget, depending on the player count, but you're grabbing a whole row of cards. The rows that you skipped over get an extra spark to make them, tastier for the next person to grab.
Those will be points at the end.
And those will be points at the end of the game. And then so you've collected your citizens. You stack them on top of each other. Then you can activate an entire faction of characters, essentially. And they have some sort of power. So if I pick a scout, the more scouts I have in the stack, the more powerful its action will be, which is to grab random cards off the top of the deck. So if I have a stack of 3 scouts on top and I activate, then I get to grab like a lot of cards, which is fantastic because the more cards, usually the better your city. There are some exceptions that I'll talk about too. And that's like super cool. Like I just got a lot of extra cards and I stack them up. However, other players also get to follow your action if they have that citizen in their town. So even on off turns, you can participate and say like, well, I'm just going to follow that too. I've got a stack of 2, so I'm going to get at least some characters here. And you're getting more actions than you would if you only activated on your turn, which is really interesting. So there's a lot of different ways to play this because, as I mentioned, most citizens have cool things. Some of them might be negative points and you need to get rid of them by the end of the game, hopefully. And they have really interesting preset combinations of these different factions where you could go like high interaction, low interaction, very aggressive play, or more like multiplayer solo play or something. And they have different themes. So every time I've played it with a different combination, the game has been really different. And it's really, really streamlined, fun, and quick. Like it doesn't overstay as welcome. It's like what, 20, 30 minutes per game, depending on number of players.
Yeah. I mean, I think my longest game was maybe a half hour or so.
And when you can line things up to get huge spark combos, it's really satisfying because some of them are going to be like, oh, I will find, I get to score a certain multiplier off of these sorts of symbols on the town that has the most of those symbols. So I can even use shoes and say like, ooh, he's got the most of that. I'm going to take advantage of it and score like 50 points off of it. So really quick game, very striking. And I've just really enjoyed delving into the different combinations of cards. I played it for the first time with a group of friends. And then we have a designer friend, Steve Cole, who was saying like, well, what happens if we pick like the most aggressive possible situation? And so
like the set of cards.
Yeah. So like it wasn't a preset situation, but well, he didn't actually want to do aggressive. He just wanted to do all new cards. So we were using the randomizer and just like pulling out the card types that we'd already played with. He picked brand new ones. And so we had a new set of cards nobody had ever played with, except it did turn out to be like the most aggressive setup ever. And we were just like constantly killing each other's cards and stuff. So it was hugely different from the first time I played. Have been finding it really, really interesting. And even if you're doing horribly, it's a quick game. And then you come back and you have a brand new game and maybe you do really well the second time. So
yeah. And it has an interesting balance because when you activate one of those characters, you actually have to discard the card.
I forgot to mention that's huge.
So you have to.
You can't just stack it over and over.
Yeah, it's not just this power creep that goes out of control because you have to make a decision. Well, I have 2 scouts. Do I play this one of them and leave myself with one, or do I wait till I draft another scout to make it more powerful? So you have to make these decisions because it's always kind of balancing itself, and no one gets ever too powerful. Yeah. But it's same thing. I play games without you, and then I've also had very different experiences where it's like, wow, this plays completely different from another because it gives you so many, and you just take 10 of the different classes to combine. And I forget how many come in the box, but. And this feels like it's the kind of thing, if it does well, I'm sure they'll do expansions and create more cards.
30 unique citizens come with this base game.
So 10 different sets of these per game. I think it matters by player count, but you can imagine how many different combinations there are within the 30 that come with the game. That's quite a bit. But the drafting's a lot of fun too. Like that's what we're talking about here today is the drafting games where you're drafting not just one card at a time. You're like, here's a row of cards. So I think when it was 2 players, we drafted 3 cards. When I was playing 4 players, I think it's 2 cards. So you're not just looking for what card is the most attractive, but what pair or trio of cards looks most attractive. But also, as in any drafting game, what are you leaving for your opponents, right?
It's like, I can't give Shu this aggressive one. He's going to murder my people.
Yeah. So I like the idea of like drafting a group of cards at the same time.
So that was a surprise to me that I saw at Gen Con and we got to play later. And I was like, oh, I really like this.
Cool. Okay, so our next drafting game is Stamp Swap by Stonemaier Games. So if you're looking at our YouTube video or our Facebook video right now, you can just see it's a game about stamp collecting, and it's just a bunch of stamps everywhere. So this has an interesting setup too in terms of draft because you will draw these setup cards that show all these different stamp sizes, and then you'll draw however many cards there are as there are players. So in a 4-player game, there's 4 of these cards. Each one will have something like play 1 big square or draft 1 big square card, 2 rectangular cards. Some will be face up, some will face down. So you're all together. between each of the 3 rounds, you're creating this big pile of stamps, a bunch face up, bunch face down. And then also some cards that provide special powers, some cards that provide in between round scoring. The first player marker goes into this draft pool as well.
Everything's for draft.
Everything is for draft. So it's like you're looking, when you get to go first, you're like, I'm looking at 20 different things here. And it's just kind of like awesome because you're like, do you want to collect animal stamps? Do you want to collect blue stamps? There's all these different things that might score based on common objectives as well as your own your exhibitor cards, which might be rewarding only me with space themed stamps, for example. But we're at a stamp convention, and then we're gathering all these stamps, but you have to swap them because after you draft 6 items, first thing you do, this is also really cool. You get to reserve one. So this is like, I'm not going to give anyone this. This is mine. But the other rest of the stuff you just drafted, now it becomes a second phase. I split, you choose.
Which you love.
I really like this mechanic. And this is basically, now let's say I have 5 items left. I'm going to make 2 piles. I could make a pile of 1 and 4, 2 and 3, but I'm going to put these out in front of my board. And then we're going to, in turn order, pick one of those piles that you see in front of an opponent. So if I pick Christina's left pile, I get that pile to put into my collection, but her remaining pile she gets to keep. When someone picks one of my 2 piles, the other pile of mine returned to me. So you have to make this decision if you haven't heard of this mechanic before, of like, I have to make pretty equally appealing piles, because if I make one really awesome, one kind of crappy, no one picks a crappy one, I'll be stuck with a crappy one.
But because some of them are face down, I get to know what my face down ones. I can make a pile look really juicy, but I've got like maybe fewer face down ones on the other pile, hoping that they'll leave that for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the first time I played it, so that this draft is really cool because it immediately, it was also weird. The first time I played it, I'm like, I don't know if I like this because you're drafting, but you don't get to keep everything you draft. But then you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to draft things that other people want because I need to make another pile of the things I want. And I'm hoping the people take that. So it changes a lot of things about how you used to playing these kind of games and drafting and stuff. And then once you are done with the I split, you choose portion of the game. Now you build out your collection. You have a little book and you're laying out the stamps. And again, the game will reward you for things like having rectangular shapes inside your collection in groups, or having sets of different themes or certain colors and things like that. So that part's a little bit more standard, but it's like everything that builds up to which stamps you could take is really cool. I will say, I really dislike this rule book, though. The first game I played and taught, it was a lot of referring back to the rule book, so a few questions I had to look back at again, and a few moments of like, oh, oops, this was supposed to be done this way, or we weren't supposed to do this way, or just so you know. So the first game, I had multiple people say, it's okay, it's a learning game, because they knew I felt bad that I wasn't teaching this very smoothly. Second game went
very smooth,
amazingly.
Very smooth.
Because
I really liked it because I was on the second game.
You didn't have to deal with my first initial
teach. The teach was great. My pet peeve about it is you sometimes have things about scoring for rectangles or squares, and squares are rectangles, people. But they are differently considered in this game.
And the rule book is like the rectangles are this shape and not squares. We had the same discussion at the previous game too. But yeah, it's a cute, quaint game. Everyone played. It's like, oh, this is a very cute game
very
because
cute.
Yeah, it's just like collecting little stamps. Even if you're never a stamp collector, it's just like collecting these things. A couple of different people, including myself, have kind of compared it to the game Fit for Print, which we were drafting different articles and advertisements to lay out a newspaper page. Stamp Swamp is a better game. If you like that, definitely check out Stamp Swamp, because this one...
You keep calling it Stamp Swamp.
Stamp Swamp. I do think this is a better game, and it's cute. And again, you just have to get through the rules. I would watch a video online. There's a how to play video, but then that will help you kind of get through this rule book, which surprisingly,
for a short game,
simple game, it didn't explain things very well, I think so.
But it's a short game, and I really enjoyed the drafting part, where you literally just draft one thing at a time, but then different scoring objectives every time, so I could see a lot of variety there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stamp Swap. Next game, what do I want to talk about? Let's talk about Fountains. So pretty. Ooh, ah. So Fountains was published by The Op, and it's a super, super beautiful game. designed by Kedrick Winks. And so this game has this really nice sort of, I don't know, what era is this of art?
Maybe it says on the back of the box that you can lift out. Here, give me that.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I don't know my art eras very well. Sorry, not an expert at that. But it's beautifully done, really striking, and it's a really quick drafting game that's so pretty. So we are playing Fountaineers.
Fountaineers in an elegant city of Florimel.
Which is made up, I think. But Fountaineers is a real word. So we are fountain engineers, basically. And we are using this common fountain tableau.
It's like a central pool
board,
that you're
maybe
drafting.
That you're drafting different shapes from. So the shapes are lined up by type around here, and we take our little. We don't have a personal player token, but there will be set a blue token, a white token, and a green token that we will move around in a rondelle type fashion. Where it lands, we can move like 1, 2, or 3 spaces, I believe. Where it lands, you're going to take the top tile from that stack. So it's sort of like a draft with a little bit more constraints, but you're drafting these tiles by moving these tokens around and building out your fountain, which sounds great. You can even build sideways, make them really wide and beautiful. You can build up too. So like some of these other games where you can build higher up, like Acropolis and stuff, the higher up your fountain goes, the scoring elements on the higher levels will give you more points. It's a little challenging to build up, but it's really rewarding. And the pieces are all this really nice foam core. So really satisfying to play around with. You're building out like a nice physical, beautiful fountain, has great table presence. But the fun thing about it is like there's just like a good light amount of strategy, which I really appreciate. So as I mentioned, you're moving these tokens around to draft stuff, but the color also is going to match set types of scoring requirements. So if I go and draft something and I put the green token back on the green scoring space, this means all the lily pads are going to score. So it is up to the players when we score these features. So a lily pad's going to score for the biggest contiguous group of lily pads. If they're on the second level, the lily pad will be worth 2 points. If they're on the third level, 3 points. If you score on the blue, that's going to be who has the biggest continuous fountain tiles. So you would count out who has like the biggest range of tiles, and you get scored like first, second, third, which is huge too. When you score the fishies, then the fishies are going to score for you. Whoever gets to pick the scoring will pick what color fish they want, and then you get a score. Everybody scores for that color fish. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of control if you are the one to push this to the scoring place. So like a fun little decision there.
And sometimes you don't want to score something that will score you points, but will actually score another player more points.
Exactly.
You're like, I might actually want to block that so that they can't score that.
Which I've done out
feature.
Of spite before too.
Yeah.
So, so there's fun little strategy there. It's not overwhelming, but it's like nice and crunchy and really pretty. One thing you have to consider though, as a good fountaineer, make sure your fountain has water, right? And so there are ways though that you can be building on top of your fountain that end up cutting off parts of your fountain from the flowing water. So they added that aspect to it. So you have to watch and check that water's still flowing to every part. Otherwise it gets scummy and does not score at all. So a fun little consideration there. And if you want to add more strategy, they have an advanced mode where there's extra scoring mechanisms that everybody will share at the end of the game.
Like scoring objectives too.
Yeah, scoring objectives rather than just the base scoring.
Yeah, and Christina in the video here is only showing the round pieces, but there's a bunch of different shapes, like a crescent shape and some more cross-shaped things. And so when you're building out, they have connection points to show how they fit on top of each other, but your fountains will all look different from each other. And because the pieces are so thick, it's just like, it looks really pretty. And then they colored the edges of the pieces. So it looks like, what is that material? It's like a terracotta almost.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. But it looks like clay pieces. The first time I actually saw this game, I was like, wait, are these real pieces? I thought maybe this is a prototype or something. They're like, no, that's actually what it looks like in a retail copy. And so I'm like, wow, this is a really cute, good looking game.
Lovely, beautiful, fun times, enough strategy, and is like a nice quick game too.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying Fountains.
I think the drafting part is the best part. could have been a more standard, straightforward game of just building your fountains that we've seen. But the way they do the drafting, like Christina said, you only could move a piece to an open space, and then everyone's sharing those pieces. So I think that makes it a lot more decision focus about how do you draft and when.
And so striking. We've had people request to play this just because they saw the cover and they didn't know anything else about it. So yeah.
Well, okay. Our next game we're going to talk about, we just played this right before the show. We played this before, but we played another round before we recorded this. It's called Strange World Above the Clouds. It is a tiny box. If you look at this, it's a box. Yeah, it's a tiny box, but it's a thicker box because there's a lot of cards in there. But it's just the size. It's the height and width of the cards themselves, and it has this really great, fantastical, kind of whimsical, otherworldly
creepy,
art.
Weird art too.
Yeah.
Not too creepy, but like strange in a fun way.
Yeah, and the cards are all mainly showing these different lands of like mountains and forests and waterfalls and volcanoes and things like that. But the draft part of this is a little bit more straightforward. So for example, in a 2-player game, I have 3 cards, Christina has 3 cards, keep 1, pass 2, keep 1 more, pass the last one, and then you end up with 3 cards that you're going to lay out in a 4x4 tableau. And then there's all these rules. Here's another game whose rule book I hated. It didn't explain things that great, and it was tiniest print I've ever seen. Tiny pictures that you had to pull examples from, and you need
a magnifying glass.
Yeah, you needed some of these examples to really clarify what the rules meant by this. So the first time I read these rules, I had a lot of trouble. And then my first game was similar to what I just described for Stamp Swap, which was a lot of like, let me check the rules again. And then let me like put this rule book, this page right up to my face. I'm like looking at these tiny print, examples. And then we eventually figured out, I was like, okay, once you get over that hump, it's a pretty smooth game. And then the reference card makes sense after that. But basically, there are a lot of rules. Like, so if you see this character here on the side of this box, or if you're just listening, go look this up online. There's these world eaters. They just look like giant black blobs that are just eating
the world,
right? So you have to be careful not to summon them. So, for example, if you put 2 water cards next to each other, adjacent to each other, then they're thirsty. The world eaters are thirsty, and they'll come in, and you have to flip one of the cards to its world eater side, which doesn't score you anything. And there's other rules like, was it green? Was the marsh or something. There's one of the land tiles. You can only have 1 per row. If you have a second one, they get angry and come in, and then you have to flip one of the cards. But there's also cards that are like volcanoes, which will destroy a land next to you. But if you get a couple of those destroyed lands together, it could create a new dark city, which will score as well. So even if bad things happen to you, you can mitigate it, hopefully, to turn it into a good thing and possibly get rewarded more. And there's these cards where if you connect certain symbols, they create a portal that a traveler comes in and gives you extra scoring opportunities. Pretty simple game, but like not as simple as like a Sushi Go or something like that. There's a lot of strategy of you have to think about it, and you're like, bad things are going to happen. You're going to get stuck with cards you don't want to get stuck with. You definitely will. And in fact, that's part of the pitch for this game. I think we heard from the marketing person. It's like a lot of this time you're just going to be stuck and you're going to be angry about like, I got to put this thing that's going to do one of these bad things. So it's about managing around that. So that's the kind of game you're getting. It's not a simple, oh, okay, I laid this out. Let's see what my scoring combos are. It's like, how do I mitigate the bad things and hopefully turn them into good things? But it's like inevitable you'll get something bad. And that's the game.
We've played it, 3 players once or 4 players? And then I think it was 4 players. And then this time we played it 2 players. So I found the smaller player count actually a lot easier to mitigate bad cards. I don't think you did that as much as I did this time. But since you have 3, you get to keep 1, and you know one of the other 2 is coming back. So you should have counted for that.
Well, I arranged my volcanoes in a way that is like they were all positive, but Christina just had more scoring than I did overall.
Yeah. No, I just knew like, well, there are times where it's like, oh, I bet a volcano is going to come back because I see that in my hand. Yeah. And so I can account for that too. So there's more control with, I'd say, fewer players. With more players, it's a little bit crazier noisier and more chaotic, but you see a lot more cards too. So that's the interesting part of Strange World Above the Clouds. I really, really like the vibe of it. It's so weird and quirky. And the way that you build out the tableau works a different side of your brain than some other tableau builders, I think.
Yeah. It's a good game. Like, we've had several people like this after they played it, they're like, I want to play it again.
Yeah.
Because they start thinking about it, and they start like, oh, I could have done this better. And they just want to see other ways the cards will come to them and they can build out their tableau. But
you're only building a 4x4 grid, so it's like a quick 15, 20-minute game, really. So
really easy game.
Mm-hmm. And my final game I have, it's so heavy, is Twinkle Twinkle.
So this is heavy because we have the expansion and a mini expansion and a 3D printed insert.
Oh, yeah, that's why.
Inside here. So
this is very dense, basically.
Yeah.
So this was put out by All Play. We got a copy back at Gen Con, an early copy designed by Amin Anderson. And it is definitely, on some level in the beginning, very seemingly straightforward drafting, right? So you have a bunch of tiles. Then when you select a tile, you will move your meeple person. I think it's a space cat.
Yeah.
I think it's a space cat.
They're like space. They're little astronauts.
They're little astronaut cats. And you're going to go claim one of these tiles. The cool thing about these tiles is that they are transparent and acrylic. So they're really, really
you have
satisfying.
To dig through
we have a lot of stuff in here.
The insert to get to them.
Yeah. So you'll get these tiles that look like this that are really neat. I don't know if you can see it on our video, but you are going to build out your night sky in different ways to score.
Yeah,
so,
they're completely clear. So in case you're not sure what we're talking about, they're little squares, completely clear acrylic with some white markings on it. So you could actually flip it backwards and then lay it completely on the other side. It'll still work. And the symbols will just be mirrored.
Mm-hmm. That was the really cool part that I like about this too. So, in some ways it's pretty straightforward. You take your tile, you build things out. You're trying to make maybe like constellations of stars. So big constellations score one way, or if you have many constellations, they'll score another way. Then you might have asteroids and black holes that sort of limit your scoring. So the placement of them really matters. But where you go and select your tile, let's say I go really far up, then this means that I will get to go earlier in the next round for my picking also. The really valuable ones that might have a lot of stars and stuff like that, they have a symbol on them that forces them to the back of the draft row. So if I take this really juicy tile, I will have to go last in the next round for picking. So that draft order really matters.
Yeah. If you play King Domino, it's the same kind of drafting effect of like your decision isn't just which tile you're going to pick, but you might have to go later in the following draft, and then you get a preview of what's coming up. So you might say, okay,
it's not worth it for me, or it is.
You might say, I'm going to take this great tile and then not do well in the next draft, or vice versa, right? So I like that mechanic. Again, it's not original. King Domino did it. But what I like about this game is, so even in a base set, there are, I think 5 or was it 6 different tiles, but the little reference card for them, each could be flipped over to a variant. So you could have all these different combinations. So like, here's all the basic tiles, or let's flip over half of them and do a more advanced version of these so that comets score slightly different, planets score slightly different, and things like that.
Which wasn't, I played this on Board Game Arena several times, 2-player with our friend Eric Yurko. And so we played the base game several times, and then all of a sudden he switches it to a new scoring. And I was like, what the heck? I was setting up my black hole like normal, and I was like, wait a minute, this is not the same anymore. So
that's on you for not checking which ones got picked. So that's a lot of the fun. I think if you just took the base game and you didn't have any of these variances, I would like, okay, it's a fine game. It's like nothing special. It's cute. The novelty will wear out, but it's like, okay, you're building connections of stars. You're sprinkling some planets into this, and then eventually you'll build out a tableau of your night sky that you're looking at, right? But where I think this game shines, and I hate to be one to tell people like you need to get the expansion or the expansion makes the game good, but in this case, I'm like, where I found Twinkle Twinkle really appealing is when we combine the expansion that has a bunch more tiles, each with a variant on the back, and then the UFO expansion, mini expansion, which is another tile set. Then when you have all of these together, it's like in one set, and it does fit into one box. It's like, okay, nice. Now you have a million different combinations of ways to play this game. And then that to me is where the fun is.
I think the base game has a lot of variety though, just because of the different combinations of how you score each of the features. And then when I played it several times online, and it was pretty different depending on how the tiles came out and stuff too. So I think there's a lot of game in the base game. And then, I forgot to mention that the flipping of the clear acrylic tiles is really great, because in a lot of other games, because it's cardboard, you're like, I can only turn it around and I can't flip it the other way. If only it would go this other way. And now it can. So that's sort of satisfying.
Yeah, because the constellations, they're mapped out as stars that have connection points. It's like as if you've drawn out the constellation. So sometimes you need these lines to go off your tile a certain way to make other connection points. So that's really a nice thing, part of this game. It is, I think, an organizational nightmare, this game, because they're all clear tiles. So from a distance, all the tiles look alike. So even if you're trying to sort them and bag them, and you probably want separate bags for each type, rather than having to like, where are all my planet tiles, where are all my comet tiles, and then arranging a game that way, you're going to want to figure out a way to organize it yourself. Like I said,
only if you're anal retentive like you.
You never had to organize. You've been playing on Board Game Arena.
I'm saying I would, but some people just dump their crap in the middle of their box.
Can you imagine like 30, 40 tiles and they're all similar looking and you have to sort through them?
That would be their problem if they don't organize. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's like you're going to want, because especially for us, we have the expansions in here as well. It's like, okay, I want the asteroid tiles. And then so I 3D printed an organizer that I thought was really mandatory for this kind of game. But that is a consideration. It's like you're just going to have a million tiles that all look fairly similar at a distance. And so you're going to want to be able to categorize them and group them more easily.
And that is Twinkle Twinkle. And your last game, Shu?
Okay, so our last game is Solar Gardens. This is a drafting game as well. This is about building a rooftop garden, an eco-friendly garden of like the things that have like like wind power, solar power, different features that are very ecologically friendly. And that's the kind of message of the game. It's like about being more ecological and ecologically friendly. So you're drafting these tiles, but the way that drafting works, I really like this part of the game, is so each round, let's say there's going to be, I think, one more than the number of players, right? So 4 players, if I'm first player, I have a stack of 5 tiles. I don't get to look at all of them. No one gets to look at all of them. I only get to look at the top one, and then I have to make a decision. Do I keep this tile, or do I pass it to the next player and have them decide, and then I get to draw the next one? So I could have potentially better tiles in that pile, or it could be worse, and then you turn off. So every time you pick up a tile, you have to make this decision of like, ooh, do I try for what's behind door number 2? It might be better. Or do I give this tile, and maybe this is a tile another player really wants, right? And then when I pass to Christina has to decide. She's like, she knows there's more tiles coming her way because most of these, out of the 5, 4 will get drafted. So she has to decide, do I wait to see what else Shu passes me? Or do I take this one tile and then it skips her and the next player will get the remaining tiles and such. So it might get all the way down where I'm like, okay, I'll pick the very last tile. Then you're stuck with that one if you make it all the way to the bottom. But in the meantime, I passed around 4 other tiles that other people are now deciding between. That's the coolest thing. I really like this strat because every decision is like, ooh, this one, or should I wait? Because you don't know what you might be getting, right? I really like that system. Then you're placing these tiles, sort of like a lot of different tile laying games of like, okay, I want to make this group, this kind of farm land that's all grouped together, or I need to collect certain sets of things, or I want a lot of wind turbines in this row or this column, or a lot of solar panels in this column. And then a lot of the scoring is based on that. But I think the drafting part is the coolest part of this game.
You're balancing a lot of different scoring options. So, that's what you're risking. Like, I really need that like 4th animal type because I've got 3 of them right now. So do I risk it? Will I wait for another turn or something like that? So it's like just a really quick, nice drafting game. You end up with this very, cool looking rooftop garden situation. And then that should be very eco-friendly is the goal. So
yeah, I will say I don't think the art is the most striking. I think it's a little dry looking. Like there's like there
it's too clean.
yeah, I know it's just kind of almost kind of clinical. I will say the art, it's okay. It's fine. It's serviceable, but it's also like, this is a big box for the kind of game you're getting. And it's also, I don't think there's enough tiles in this game. I think there needs to be more, maybe it's an expansion or something like that. But once you see all the tiles in one game, you've seen all the possibilities that this game can offer. So I do wish it came with more variety of tiles. But
it's a fun drafting game. And it's, I had a good time with it. Nice and quick. So thanks for joining us for drafting day. Hope you found something to draft for your shelf right there. Yeah? Is that corny?
Yeah, yes, you're so cheesy.
Anyway, thanks for joining us. Thanks to Mike Zipkin, our fantastic editor, for making us sound great. And we hope we will see you at BGG-Con. When this comes out, we will be at BGG-Con. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. So we are having a live event for Board Game Trivia. Come and form a team or find a team and join one and see how you do.
Yeah, look for the Board Game Quiz Show under the events calendar over there and sign up.
All right. Hope you have a great day. And now you can stop listening and go play a game.
Bye.
Bye.